So, welcome to the existential crisis series. I'm going to be honest, there's no editing, there's no polishing. It's direct, it's rumbling, it's about all of those questions that we ask kind of ourselves. I thought of doing that because honestly there is a lot of existential crisis that I ask myself, and I found out that when I talk about it out loud with a micro, it does actually help me to figure out what I want from that, where do I want to go, and to even remember kind of like what do I learn from it. It does help. So I will be honest, if you're looking for very fast paced, like someone who's going to very fast paced storytelling or whatever, is not the case. It's pure rambling. And I do enjoy it. I personally enjoy it, and I do enjoy watching also this type of videos. So here is it. Right now, my question is, would my 22 years old self hate me? Why I'm asking that question is because I'm 35 and I had a certain idea about how my life would have been when I was 22. And at 35, it's very different from what I thought it would be. So I'm actually asking myself, would I hate it if I was 22? Like, would I hate it? Because obviously you can say yes or no. You can say, yeah, of course, because when you were 22, you had that idea. Now you're 35, it happened. No, it's not that simple. Life is nuanced, life is complex. And I feel that most people do not ask themselves this type of questions for whatever reason. It can be because we're too busy, and that is a reality, too distracted, or sometimes we just don't want to face the truth. So we prefer to hide ourselves. So for this question, for me, it was very important to kind of also remember who I was when I was 22. When I was 22, I'll be honest, I was always kind of extroverted, but I was very afraid of showing myself, very afraid of saying who I was, very afraid to not fit in. God, I wanted to fit in. Because a few times when I was reading myself, people used to tell me that I was quite original, but not in a good way. It was really said in a sense that, yeah, girl, you're weird. So obviously, when you feel and you sense this type of things, you try to fit in. So you try to wear a type of clothes, you try to talk a certain way, and all of those little quirkiness that makes who you are, you just zik, cut them. And this is exactly what happened. And I did like many schools. I remember when I was 18, I was sure of myself and I was telling to everyone that I was going to become that art director and I'm going to make $10,000 per month. Yes, I was a very ambitious kid. I thought that my creativity was my biggest strength and that if I was capable of dealing into this strength, I should be capable of doing 10,000 per month. Like for me it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. Then, unfortunately, the school that I wanted did not accept me because I was not mature enough to do the test. There was a fucking test that I was supposed to study, and I didn't study. I went out to party. Why? Because I wanted to fit in, and a group of friends invited me, and I was too afraid to say no because it was so nice to finally feel part of a group, feel part that I was loved for who I was, even though I was not really myself, but it kind of like was the fault. Then, yeah, like it definitely worth it. So I failed. I went in a school that was not for me. I tried communication school the second year. I went there then, obviously, I fell in love. I thought that this was the most important thing of my life and I should, like go through love because this is what life is about. At the end, useless. And I also changed school and I went finally into the school that I was trying to go in my first year to become an art director. But when I did it, they said, girl, you don't have enough skills to do that. Because yes, you were supposed to learn about Photoshop, Illustrator, drawing, all of those things that made an art director. But the first 2 years that you did not teach you that. So the only thing you can do is strategy. I thought that I was not strategic, and that strategy could be something that will bring me, like I really thought that I was someone creative. So that strategy could be, that part that is going to balance my creative side and strategic side. So if I have both, I could be, a beast. Like I would have thought it kind of like that. Like I would be a beast and that would be it. So I went to strategy and it was still not the life that I wanted. And I did the fourth year. I was like, okay. Then I said, okay, I'm going absolutely insane. I need to get out of France. I need to go somewhere. And I went to London. Okay. 6 months, 7 months, again, fitting in. So I did have a big problem of being a people pleaser. Definitely. I think for my stories now that I'm talking about it out loud, definitely I have a problem of people pleasing. and I just partied again. It was really cool because at least it did kind of tap into something that I was. I'm very open minded. I love traveling, love meeting new people, love seeing the difference in people. Usually, my friends and close people tell me that I'm very non judgmental. And I feel it comes because of my open mindedness, because whoever I meet, I think that they have something amazing to teach you, and that we should always be open to difference more than anything. So that was it. I was in the London, and that was very important. And why did I tell you that about myself? Because it makes sense for the next part. But when I came back, 24, France, I need to go look for a job. And obviously, the job that I wanted to look for was not what I wanted to do, because I wanted to be an art director, and I ended up being into strategic positioning that was not exactly what I thought would it be. Like, it was very executive, very, anyway, like nothing that my self could tap to, that creative power that I thought whatever would be in my brain, and I should like come out with it, like, with beautiful like Picasso or Dali or whatever. It was not the case. So anyway, I had another breakdown, party, party, party. Every time I used to come back home, I used to cry. And the thing is, at that time, I thought that it was a very dramatic moment. I really thought that I was not understanding who I was. I was just partying in order to forget the decisions that I took. Until one day I stopped partying and I said, I need to do something. And what did I do? I took a year gap in order to go to the best top business school of Paris. Everyone told me that I was insane because I did, advertising to be art director, and now I'm going to the business school, and it was the best one on the market. So I won't be able to do it. That's what people told me. And I took absolutely 1 year. I did part-time job. I saved money to pay for the university because my parents were like, girl, we're not paying for university another year. I was like, sure, I get it. And I mean, my parents were kind enough to pay, a few things. It's not the case for everyone. So I worked, I studied, I passed the test as I should have done for the first year of my university, which I didn't do the first year. As I told you, I went to party instead of studying. This time it was not what I did. Every day, if I used to come out, no drinking, nothing, 11 p.m., I used to go back home, wake up at 8 a.m. in the morning and study like crazy until 5 p.m. And I had all of those stickers, that says you can do it, motivation skills, like, all of those very, like powerful thing, inspiration that makes you want more from life. And I did it. And I fucking did it. I was miserable for the whole year because I was studying things that was still not for me, but I felt that marketing was my core, that marketing was going to be creative and strategy together blended, and I'm going to succeed no matter what. So the thing is, I did it, succeed. Honestly, I cried. Even my parents told me they did not think I was capable of doing it because it seems so much different than all of the decisions that I took before, and now suddenly I'm doing that huge shift. Not even mad at my parents, even me, I wasn't sure if I was capable of doing it. Even my friends were saying that like that was insane, but I did it. I went to the best school, and guess where did I end up? In China. Yes, 4 years. 4 years in freaking China. And all I dreamed when I was going to China, actually, like I was supposed to go to India, but anyway, now I went to China. And it did tap a lot into my open mindedness. So that was kind of nice into that sense. And when I went there, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I thought that actually, maybe at the end of the day, who I really was being an entrepreneur, launching my own business, doing import export between China and Iran, because I'm actually from an Iranian family. I came to France when I was 5 years old. So my first language is Iran. Salam. But of course, I learned French. So now I'm actually bilingual. No, actually, I'm trilingual because I'm speaking English right now with you. But that was the idea. And I went to China. And when I went to China, amazing moment, let's be honest. Like, there were so many different people like me, original people like me, as they used to say. That was, I saw a culture that I didn't know anything about. I used to eat noodles on tiny, tiny chairs in the street at 4 in the morning, or go and get a massage at 5 in the morning, partying with Russians and cultures that I never met in my life. So it was answering so badly to something that I wanted to, which was just discovering world, what the world had to give to me. And I'm guessing in your 20s, that was where I was wrong. When I was 25 and I was crying and being dramatic because I had to go to the job and I had to go find for a job that was not meant for me. I thought that the whole thing was about that. But actually, no. In your 20s, you're supposed to experiment. Your 20s, you're supposed to live. You're supposed to ask yourself questions. And having those strong emotions are part of your 20s. Doesn't mean anything of your personality. It doesn't mean anything about you. So that's where I was in, like in China. And would my 22 years old self hate the person who I was? So I'm 25, 3 years later, China. I stayed until I was 29. Guess what? I met a Mexican and I married that Mexican and I brought that Mexican in Paris with me. So there will be another story about what is living between, French Iranian with a Mexican in Paris, and actually his name is Paris. Yes, Paris in Paris. And yeah, that was a very strange encounter. But it's been 10 years that we were together, and he had a heart attack because we were working too much. Because we did launch our entrepreneur idea. I did launch it at the end with this Mexican, and it did work for a few years, 2 years, like I did something out of it. But heart attack, and we had to come back. And when I had to come back to Paris, I was 29, 30, COVID hit. That was a very unlucky, thing happening. But thank God at the same time, because I came back a few months before. I was living in China before COVID hit. But when I had to look for another job, of course, that was a little bit problematic. And at the end, I just answered to what society was asking from me, which was getting married, buying a house, working in corporate, working in big names corporate. And the fun fact is I was still very, very ambitious. So I completely forgot that I wanted to be an art director. I completely forgot that I dreamed of being a writer even when I was a kid, or a filmmaker when I was actually my 15 years old, because I loved, filming. I loved actually this type of things. I completely washed out everything. I was 30 years old, back to my parents' house with a Mexican, and we lived there for 1 year and a half because we had no money, nothing to be living properly. I felt like a loser. I felt like shit. I was 30 years old. I believed that I could take on the world. I believed that I could be anyone that I wanted to. And I did try, and I just fell from the sky in hell because you're 30 years old, everyone around you are becoming manager, everyone around you are having a house, everyone around you have, they seem like it, of course, because social media is key, the universe, the place to compare yourself, which is kind of the worst thing to do. And I really, really hated myself at that time. So my 22 years old would have hated definitely myself when I was 30, because did not have my company, did not have any money, did not have anything, and I ended up with a Mexican and brought to Paris. But the fun fact with it is because I never imagined marriage. I never dreamt of marriage. I never dreamt to be in relationship. If anyone was asking me, I was like, no, who cares? Because what I wanted was to be an entrepreneur and succeed in life and being ambitious and all of this type of things. And at the end, I was starting from scratch, but with a man. And I did marry that man. And at the end, it was one of my best decisions, because the reality is when you're a kid, my 22 years old self would think something and would have this ideal that life should be as it should be. But when you grow up, you start to evolve. And when I was reading, I read a lot of books about evolution, and the reality is they said that you even evolve every 5 years. Less in every decade, you can transform yourself 2 to 3 times in a decade, 10 years. It's a lot. So, yes, my 22 years old would have hated some of the things that I did until now, until then. But at the same time, my 20 years old self did not think some of the things that I experienced later, and I decided to thrive or to embrace it. And I would have never thought that it would have been a great thing to do, such as marriage. Yes, did. Going wonderfully, wonderfully, lovely. I don't even know how to say it. And now it's been 10 years. So, as I said, got married, and I had to go to corporate job as I did. So that was the later brackets. We continue into the story until my 25 years old. And I did multiple different jobs, went to data, went to project manager, tried marketing, tried entrepreneurship inside a corporate, until I decided to go to Amazon. And at Amazon, I ended up being pregnant. Another very big existential crisis. Did I want it to be a mother? No. Have I ever thought to be a mother? No. Am I happy being a mother? Yes. Another thing that my 20 years old self would have never thought of it. Those type of little things from life. And in all of this, until that Amazon thing, and then I break through of it, I understand that actually it drained my energy, and the reason why I was switching jobs every 6 or 1 year, 6 months or 1 year, I thought that if I go into the biggest corporate place in the world, I would finally understand who I am and what do I want from life. Because as I said, that art director thing did not work out. So I was completely lost because I thought that this was my dream and I could not see another dream. I could not see something else. So I was looking for it. I was like trying my best to look for it all the time. And until I go to Amazon and I did reach that plan. I did, I reached that big corporate place, and I had the big money, so I was able to buy a house, and I had like a big projects, and I had like a big team and all of that. I did it, but it was still not that. It was still not that. It was draining my energy. I lost it, and I decided to leave because obviously I got, there was a door out that I could leave with a certain sum that will allow me to leave until I decide what do I really want to do. So if you go back to that question, would my 20 years old self hate who I am right now? I would say yes, to a certain measure, because I did not do that 10,000 euro that I wanted. I'm not living in a big house. I'm living in a 320 square feet house, which is equivalent of 30-meter square house. It's a studio with your husband and a baby. I was not able to buy, that big thing, that big house that I wanted. I did not do any entrepreneurship. I did not succeed in entrepreneurship. I did not succeed thanks to my creativity. I did not succeed in many things that I tried. Actually, many times when I was going into a job, they said that I was not maybe skilled enough or that I was not good enough. And yeah, it hurts your feeling because when you're a kid and you feel that you can be that big shot, or you feel that with work and hard work you can achieve anything, and then you go into this corporate world and they tell you that no, actually, you're shit. They didn't mean it that way. Of course, I had good managers, but that's how they make you feel. They make you feel like shit. And it has a huge gap between what you think your life would be when you're a kid, 20, and then you're 35, and you have this harsh reality of what the world would be. So obviously, in this part, yes, wouldn't be happy. But again, as I said, I feel that life is more nuanced than that. If you got it who I was until then, now. And life is complex and nuanced. So there are a lot of parts also that my 20 years old self would be happy right now. In the sense that when I was a people pleaser, I remained people pleaser for a long time, but I'm breaking through out of this. Now I'm embracing who I am. I'm embracing originality, authenticity. I'm embracing finding myself again. I always give myself a chance to experiment. I still give myself a chance to find who I am and to go forward. And I think that part she will be happy because we have a lot of desires and dreams that doesn't get that we don't reach. Sometimes we reach but the feeling is not the same. Sometimes we don't reach and we think that maybe our old self will hate us, or our old young self will say, what did you do, why are you so shit, that was not what we talked about. But at the same time, if you do not betray yourself, if you sometimes you can betray yourself, it's part of life, but if at the end you come with sense and you tell yourself, no, I need to find, you still work, you still make it happen, you still have motivation or discipline, you still try, which is the most important, then for that, she would be incredibly happy that I never give up on finding who I am. And that was it. Yeah, I think that is actually the big, big conclusion of what I'm trying to say. When you're 22, don't be so harsh on yourself into the sense that you didn't reach everything that you wanted to reach. But at least be aware when something is off. Be aware. You have the right of not being aware for many, many years. It's normal. It happens. This is part of life. You're learning. But then at some point, ask yourself, journal, write, do exactly like me, talking out loud in order to rumble and go through your mind and understand, like the more you go through your mind, the more you are swimming inside your brain cells, and then you find an answer that comes out of it. And when you ask yourself the right questions, but at least you try, and you try to be more aware, then you can be proud of yourself, and your old self should be also be proud of you. So yeah, that was it. That was my rambling. I hope you guys liked it because next week I'm doing it again. And if anyone has anything to say, I would love to hear about it. Bye.